call to order the 2026 reorganization meeting of the Ridgefield Board of Education at 7:01. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
New Jersey open public meeting law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend a meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Ridgefield Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Administration Building and having notified the Record, the Star Ledger, and the Ridgefield Borough Clerk. And now we're going to have two board members that are going to be sworn in, Mr. Michael Jacobs and Mr. Patrick Yo.
I can go now.
You can go to your turn.
Do you want us to take pictures for you, Dorothy? Do you have a camera to take pictures?
Yeah, you can take pictures too. Anyone can take
I mean, I can take them and text them to you if you want.
As long as they look good. Now, how are you, Miss Everybody? You gonna tell me? She looks very good, so I gotta look at you.
Grab my glasses real quick because I am blind.
You keep rotating on me. I'm like trying to take a picture of this.
Do you want us just to go like this?
I like that, that's perfect.
Okay,
Two people on one side, that way we could all get quick pictures.
okay, okay.
Okay, please. I state your name.
I, Michael Jacobs,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I'll bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
You're gonna need this again, right? Who do I give
I
this
think
to?
they brought their own Bible.
Oh, okay, then here. Me too. One more time. We're doing it again? Yeah, like a rehearsal. Oh, good. This was a rehearsal. They missed the want me up there again.
They missed-
Where's
oh, they missed
the
the
section?
section.
They're doing it again.
Sorry.
They're perfect for you.
You gotta give me your Bible.
Oh, wait, one second.
Oh, hello.
Okay. Well, in the pictures, you won't know you missed anything. We'll video this time.
Continuation.
As I raise my right hand,
I state your name.
I, Michael Jacobs,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member
for the office of member
of Board of Education,
of Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified
and I am not disqualified
as a voter
as a voter
pursuant to
pursuant to
RS 19:4-1,
RS 19:4-1,
nor disqualified
nor disqualified
due to conviction of a crime
due to conviction of a crime
or
or offense
listed in NJSA
listed in NJSA
18A:12-1.
18A:12-1.
and that I'll faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
For the second time.
If you could just unlock it. 같이 가자. 엄마 나 저기 써 있어. 같이 가자.
Congratulations again.
The other way. Oh, this way?
Other hand.
The
Oh,
other.
the other way. There we go.
Yep. There you go. Perfect. I state your name.
I, Patrick Joe,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New
and
Jersey,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I'll bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments
in
established
the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authorities of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Patrick Joe,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member of the Board of Education,
for the office of the member of Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified
that I am not disqualified
as a voter
as a voter
pursuant to
pursuant to
RS
RS
19:4-1,
19:4-1,
nor disqualified due to conviction
nor disqualified due to conviction
of a crime or offense
of a crime or offense
listed in NJSA
listed in NJSA
18A:12-1,
18A:12-1,
and that I'll faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of that office
of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Of course.
Like Ralph, Thank you.
Yay, family. Here, let me grab a cell phone.
Yeah,
Go. Perfect. What do you want to do?
I'm just gonna. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I get a motion to accept the November 4th, 2025 annual election results. Be a result of the Richfield Board of Education hereby accepts the official results of the annual election held on November 4th, 2025. Mr. Patrick Joe, 1,061 votes. Mr. Michael Jacobs, 1,033 votes. Mr. Boric?
Yes.
Mr. Custodius?
Yes.
Mr. Grippa?
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno?
Yes.
Motion carries. The next order of business is for the nomination of board president.
I move to nominate Ralph Murillo for board president.
I'll second.
Yes.
Is there any other nominees
Any
for
other-
the borough?
I wanna know if there's any more nominees?
Correct.
Mr. Boric,
Yes.
Mr. Custodius,
Yes.
Mr. Grippa,
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs,
No.
Mr. Joe,
Yes.
and Mr. Murray.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, board members, for giving me that opportunity to be vice president. So this time, I'll take elections to elect the vice president.
Nominate Patrick. No.
No, any other nominations? So let it carry.
Mr. Boric,
Yes.
Mr. Custodius,
Yes.
Mr. Grippa,
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman,
No.
Mr. Jacobs,
No.
Mr. Joe,
Yes.
Mr. Murillo.
Yes.
Mr. Joe has been elected vice president of the Board of Education.
So. So before we move into the agenda, I just want to say a few words. I had the privilege and honor to meet with Patrick this summer and had the opportunity to work with him. I can tell you some of his qualities. He's very ambitious, driven, committed, and more important, that he cares deeply about the school. We have the rare opportunity today to have such a young mind joining us at the board, that we can hear from him what the students really need and they're asking for, instead of us assuming or putting them, putting that forward. So that's a great opportunity. There's also a time to celebrate, not just for him and his family, also for all of us, because he got to where he is, not only because of his hard work, definitely because of his hard work, his parents' support and all of that, but also because of the school system. He's been in the Richfield School District since kindergarten. So it's also a testament of the education. This young man reached out this high at this age. Can you imagine what he will accomplish in 5-10 years from now? And this is all due to the hard work, all the students, all the teachers, all these that give him the support. Some of them that I come to mind, all of them, as like Ms. Lambert, Mr. Fanelli, Mrs. Acosta, Mr. Sunek, I'm sorry before, Mr. Sunek, my great friend, the heart and soul of the school for many, many years, Irene Boy, and many, many others. So, Janet Siebel, Dr. DePaz, all of them. So thank you. So you deserve a round of applause.
Okay. So first, I'm going to make a longer statement after we vote on the consent agenda, but I just wanted to make a short statement. First, I want to congratulate Ralph for being elected president. He goes into the weeds on the issues, scrutinize the school, and at the end of the day, that's our job, to scrutinize, to bring proper oversight, and I have full faith and confidence that Ralph will be great at that, and I look forward to working with him and everyone on the board. I would also like to thank my fellow board members for entrusting me with the position of vice president. This is a responsibility I don't take lightly. I would also like to thank Commissioner Ortiz for taking the time to swear us in. She has been instrumental in leading our local educational system. As a former member of the Palisades Park Board of Education and the Burn Community College Board of Trustees, where I'm a proud early college program graduate of, where I got my associate's actually before I graduated high school. So, and I know my sister's a part of that program too. So she has been very instrumental, and I thank you for taking the time to come here, but also for your leadership in public service and education. So, I will have much more to say later, especially with all the family and friends that came. But I'll save it for after we vote on the reorganization consent agenda, since I do want to move on with business. So, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And now we move into the board training. I'm going to introduce Melissa Del Soro, NJSBA, Oregon County Field Service Representative. She will conduct ethics training for the board.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to just. Extras. I'm gonna try to speak loudly so everybody can hear. My collar goes to my back, because no matter where I go, that's gonna happen. We're gonna cover ethics tonight, and you're the lucky ones to get to do it the first week, which everybody's always jumping at that opportunity, and it is a good opportunity because it sets you off on the right foot for the year. Ethics is a requirement to be discussed by school boards every year. So I commend you for doing the presentations. It's a little bit long, and there's a lot of slides. So you don't have to take any notes, just so you know. You're going to get a copy of these. Tomorrow I will mail them out. They will also have links in them to all the cases. So we update our ethics presentations for school boards every year. So it's not the same presentation. The basics are always the same, obviously, because the ethics are the same. But we talk about different advisory opinions and different ethics decisions, right? Complaint decisions that come out. Unfortunately, they come out the middle of December. So I'm going to apologize in advance for my notes. There's a lot of cases to know, so I have some notes by the end of the month. I'm sure I'll be reciting these in my sleep. But for tonight, you get the first presentation, so just bear with me on that. Okay, so let's get started. Right. The disclaimer, it says that this is not legal advice. You only get legal advice from your board attorney, okay? So it's legal information, but it's not legal advice. Okay? So the School Ethics Act. The point of the School Ethics Act is most board members look at themselves as volunteers, which you are volunteers. But more importantly, you are elected officials. So you swear to the School Ethics Act to follow the ethics. And it kind of, we have board members that will feel that once they get on a board, their hands are tied in certain ways, and unfortunately that is the truth. The ethics do tie your hands a little bit, but the purpose of the Ethics Act is to keep everybody aligned and on the same track. So you should look at it from that perspective. By the way, I handed out ethics. You'll see as we go through these, the list of ethics is the yellow paper. The white paper acknowledges that you had the training, that you had a discussion, and that you can sign that and hand that to your BA, and that will check off for your QSAT, which is great. You get it done. And also, if you have any questions during this, please. I don't like to lecture. I prefer to have discussions, so I encourage you. All right. So again, now we're going to remember that we are elected officials, and that's the key here. As elected officials, you hold the respect and the confidence of the people that you represent. It's also important to remember that you represent everybody in your community. You keep your eyes closely on the students because that is your main objective, but you also represent the community, not just the individuals that elected you, okay? And in addition to that, you need to be aware of what you present. So the Ethics Act isn't just about what you think you should be doing, but it is what you are perceived to be doing. So sometimes you may be thinking that you are following the Ethics Act because you're looking at it from the perspective of, I know that I can be, I can separate my own perspective from the right perspective. So the Ethics Act is to help you do that better, but always look at these with the mindset that it's not your opinion, it is what the perception of the public is. Because this is about keeping the faith and the trust of the public. That's why we have ethics. All right, and these are the minimal ethical standards. They're expected that you would surpass those. Okay, so who enforces the act? The School Ethics Commission, which we refer to often as the SEC, not the other SEC. And the School Ethics Commission is put in place by the state. And this is the makeup, so there's 9 members. There are 5 non-school officials, 2 board members, and 2 school administrators. Unfortunately, for quite a few years now, there's only been 6 sitting members. So we're hoping maybe with a new governor, that will be filled in. And also, unfortunately, both seats of school board members are currently vacant and have been for quite a while. And one of the school administrators, and the rest are appointed, I guess, by the governor. There are some restrictions in party affiliation and things like that. They can't have multiple, et cetera, but generally, that will come in a little bit into play later as well, when we talk about the board opinions. Okay? All right, so provisions of the act, accountability, you're required, there are 4 things to keep in mind with ethics. You have mandatory training that you have to do. We're gonna get into that in a few minutes. There's the code of ethics, which is your rails that keep you on the track, okay? Disclosure statements and prohibited acts. You, as board members, are responsible for all 4 of these, and disclosure statements and prohibited acts apply to the school administrator, okay? So here's the training. This is really important. I'm actually surprised. For those of you that don't know, I am new to field service rep for New Jersey School Board. Okay, I started in September. My background is I was a board member for 9 years, so I've done what you've done, you've done what you do, which is what we want from New Jersey School Board Association. So I understand what you do, I appreciate what you do, and I have the thick skin to prove it just like the rest of you. So, training is your responsibility. Your VA will help to remind you what you need, but it comes down to being your responsibility. And the SEC is really holding people to it. There's multiple reasons it's important. It affects your CUSAC rating because there's points for that. But more importantly, you need to, you know, it's hard. You're a volunteer. You get paid so well to do this job, as you all know, right? I think it's the only elected official not paid. And also the only elected official required to do mandatory training. So, if you're in your first year and you're newly elected, you want to pay attention that you must take the Governance 1 training within the first 90 days. And that's a newer requirement. You used to be able to take it within the first year. Now you must take it within the first 90 days. You want to be on that. Good news is New Jersey School Board Association offers several training opportunities, including weekend training opportunities. So if you have the chance, get registered for that as soon as possible if you're interested. The really nice thing about that is you don't have to pay for it. The district does not have to pay for it. School board has a foundation, and won't get all into it, but they are the ones that fund it, and it is the most amazing opportunity. It is truly, well, we hit the ground running because you're immersed in learning for 3 days, and it is just a wonderful opportunity as well as networking. You get to know other board members. So I highly recommend that. It covers the things that are on there. I won't go through them all. So if you're in your 2nd year of your first term, you have to take Governance 2, and you need to do that within the year. If you're in your 3rd year, you have to take Governance 3. You'll see Governance 2 is Finance and Student Achievement, Policy and Labor Relations, and by the end of, if you get reelected to a 2nd term, your first year of every 3 years, you will need to take Governance 4, which are the legal updates, similar to what we're doing here with ethics. There's updates on everything that's happening legally, so it's not the same training every single time. For Governance 1, if you're interested in, I won't get too into it, but if you're interested in board certification as a board member, you want to take the Governance 1 training in person in order to qualify for new board member certification. All right, financial and personal development disclosure statements. So if you are newly elected, you must do this within 30 days public record, but you must report where it comes from. And the purpose of that is so that it's clear if you have any kind of process, okay? So we're gonna go into, you're gonna see a lot of this, and I'm going to try to make them quick, because we can really go into the weeds here. These are different cases of, where there has been issues. So this example, and you'll see by where it says C 85-24, when you get this presentation from me, you can click on that link, you can read the full legal statement, it will explain it, there's a summary right there. So this is an example where a board member inaccurately completed their disclosure statement, and what they did is they did not report a business they had, which was, I believe, like a bug business, like extermination business. And they had their reasoning, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that that was a problem. Even though it really didn't, it wasn't a conflict, the fact that they didn't report it was where the problem came in. And the commission found they should have understood that. So the outcome of that was a reprimand, and we'll talk about the different outcomes that can come from these things. But what I will say is there's more and more of these decisions coming down. So be careful and be aware when you fill that out. Next one. Here we go, code of ethics. So these are by statute, the code of ethics, all right? So the first part, where you'll see the A, that is the part that comes from statute. And then the second part, which you'll see underneath, which is the standards. When you, if you choose to do a complaint, an ethics complaint against an individual, you need to, the key to that is that you have to prove your case of how the rules were broken, or how that tenet was broken. The standards is what explains that to you. So that comes from code, and the rest of the tenets are from statute. You will find, if you read through these cases, a lot of times the issue isn't necessarily in the decision that it wasn't true, that there was a violation, but more so that it wasn't proven based on the standards. Okay? So the first one. This is basically the state, your boots on the ground for the state. You represent the state. We talked about that a few minutes ago, where as elected officials, your power doesn't come from the community, even though you are elected officials. Your power actually comes from the state. You are a local representative to the state when it comes to your role on the board. Okay? So uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations. This tends to be a sticky issue lately because we have more and more board members not happy with the state mandates that are coming down, or disagreeing with them for various reasons. The problem is, one of the first things you do when you take your oath is to swear to uphold the law. So it gets a little dicey, right? Because as a board member, you feel it's your responsibility to do what you feel is right for the district, and you should have that power because this is your seat. Just remember that surpasses your power. I won't get too into it, but we can always talk if you want to reach out to me. The response I usually get from board members at this point is, well, then what's the sense of why am I sitting here if I just have to do what I'm told? You have the opportunity as a board member, and I encourage it, that you get involved with the school board association to which you are all members, and the school board association has opportunities. You can get involved in the county level, where you will have more opportunity to learn about the laws and what's coming down the pipe, and then you can get more involved with the association as a whole. So you do have a very important role in that. The role is to down here at the table. This isn't the place to make a stand and say, I don't agree with this mandate by the state. Your job is to work your way back up and address it that way, okay? So that's the first one. Alright, I'm gonna go on anyway. Okay, so the second one, I really don't want to read it all. Kind of slow. Let's this one, I'll make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing. So obviously, you're looking at the population as a whole when you're making your decision. You can't look at any specific group. Okay? I will confine my board action to policy-making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plan only after the board is consulted, those who will be affected by them. All right, so this is where your power comes in, right? Your policy-making, we know the New Jersey School Board Association mantra is it is your job to oversee the schools, not run the school. Get very confusing sometimes. You can find yourself sometimes in the weeds and you need to take a step back. You have to trust your administration to run the school, but it is your job to oversee that being done properly. What you do have control over is policy. Policy is super important. For board members who've been on the board or new board members, I highly recommend, if you have not started reviewing your board policies, that you do that. If you have trouble sleeping at night, it's always a good opportunity to do that. I know it can be a little dry, but in all honesty, try to plan your year out to take bites out of it. The bylaws are where you start. The bylaws is really what regulates the board itself, and gives you your marching orders of what to do. So that's a great place to start. Okay, so policy making, planning, appraisal. You are appraising your superintendent. The only individual that you will appraise or review or have oversight over is your superintendent. That's really important to understand. You don't get to review the teachers, etc., on their performance, okay? Everything else comes from the recommendation of the superintendent. All right, I'll carry out my responsibilities not to administer the school, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run. There we go again. That good old mantra. I'll recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises or take any private action that may compromise the board. What this means is your only time that you will have any power is when you sit with the board. No individual on the board has any authority on their own. So working together is the only way that you can move along the district business and to do your work. Yeah, that's really important, and I do work sometimes with boards that don't get along. If you can imagine that. What I recommend is you will find that there are more things you agree on if you're, I mean, everybody's in it for the same reason. You don't do all this just because you have nothing better to do. Two nights a month plus, right? So find things that you agree on to move. I'll refuse to surrender.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can I motion for a short recess? Because the person who's never had this training before and is not as familiar,
Two board members leave the room.
not here.
I'm sure it was an emergency. You're right.
It's not an emergency. Could we just take a 10-minute recess?
Pictures.
You're right. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I feel like everyone should be here to hear that.
Okay.
So,
Motion. Patrick, you can't.
What?
You can't move.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear the commissioner.
Okay.
Apologies.
Thank you, Laura.
Anybody have any questions so far?
Yes, I do have a question. So, do we?
I'm sorry, do you want me to pause or?
Sorry.
I'm just, are you still on recess?
How's their recess here?
Okay, motion to reconvene?
Second.
Yeah, do you have a question?
Yeah, so, last year I enjoyed the House Education Workforce Committee. I got a stipend from them, but obviously since this was an internship, I'm not going to be getting income from them. So do I report? I saw like the statements a little bit, like took a glance at it. Like, do I report that for do I report my 2026 income or 2025?
It'll be spelled out in the form.
Okay.
It will tell you exactly, off the top of my head, I don't know, and I fill it out every year, to be honest with follow the directions, it will be clear. If you're not sure, put it down.
Okay.
It's better to err on that side. Again, it's not gonna ask you how much, and it's gonna give you a guideline. I don't remember if it's a couple of hundred or like 2,000, I forget. It's gonna ask, and it asks you multiple times in different ways. It's gonna ask you if you got something from maybe the district or whatever. It's gonna ask you your general income. So just, if you have any questions, you can always go back to your BA, and get the answer from there specifically on each one. But it's pretty clear when you read it. And then err on the side of being cautious, or it's better to over-report. And those are public information. Those can be, reviewed.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so the key here is that you need to stay impartial, right? Don't make promises to other groups. Don't speak on behalf of the board. Those are the basic points to remember here. All right, so in this one, I'll hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which is disclosed would needlessly injure individuals, the schools, and all other matters. I will provide accurate information and in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for the school. The point here is anything that is holding things confidential, you will go into executive session for confidential matters such as personnel, negotiations, contract, things like that, that would, if done publicly, hinder you from being able to do it, or obviously to protect individuals in a personnel perspective, okay? It is important that you keep those matters confidential and not discuss them. One of the cases that you're gonna see in here is a board member who was having dinner with his family and discussed it at the table. And later on, somebody else took a piece of that from the family and put something on social media, and it happened to be about personnel, and it turned into a whole obvious situation. So don't assume that everybody, these are things that you really need to keep to yourself. You never know. You tell your spouse, you think that they know that they shouldn't say anything, and then you do. So you just don't do it, If you need to talk to somebody, talk to a fellow board member, or again, I encourage networking with other boards as well. And again, not confidential matters, but I'm just talking about if you're thinking or trying to discuss different ideas, situations. And the other piece of that is that you are expected to provide accurate information. Again, we go back to that perception idea. As a board member, the public assumes you know everything. And everybody knows board members. So when you make a statement, you are assumed or perceived to be an expert on the subject, even if you're not. Or you weren't paying attention that day, or you weren't there that day, or it wasn't covered. That's, if you make a statement, it's going to be assumed that you're representing the board, even if you're not. Okay, I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendations of the chief administrative officer. We talked about this where you will be voting on the recommendation of the superintendent. Okay? I will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties. Same thing. This is another one that comes out in social media a lot. Your job is to support your district. That includes your teachers, your staff, etc. Obviously, it does not do well for the district if you are unhappy with an individual and speaking about that in public, be it a teacher, be it an administrator, whatever. Just be aware of your role, and again, you are always perceived as a board member. So even though that may not be confidential and you're entitled to your opinion, just remember when you're stating it, people aren't just taking it as a parent, they're taking you as, or community member, they're taking you as a board member. And that would be an ethical violation. There has been situations, another example, and this will help me speak through later on when we get to the cases, where a board member would constantly go on social media and complain about teachers, etc., and everything else, that eventually did catch up with that individual. So, don't do that. I will refer all complaints to the chief administrative officer and will act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution. This is all about the chain of command as board members, especially when you're new, or if you have students in the district, parents are going to come to you and say, oh, I want this teacher, what can we do about that teacher, etc., etc. Your response is always to say, Did you speak to the teacher? Did you speak to the principal? Did you, you know, they should always go back. You should refer them back to the individual where the issue lies, okay? It is not your job to correct that issue. That being said, the next thing you do is you let your superintendent know. I'm sure you also know the other mantra of New Jersey School Board Association is no surprises. So you're referring them back where they belong. You're not fixing the problem. You call your superintendent, you let your superintendent, or you go to some, every district is different, so if you're in Northern, you go to your board president, your superintendent, whatever the case may be, just give them the heads up so that they know that this is what happened and you're out of it. And a lot of times the superintendent will never find out, but it's good that they know. The other reason that's important is if you step in when it is not your responsibility, should this be something that works its way up the chain of command and eventually finds itself in front of the board, you are now conflicted and must remove yourself anyway. So you're not helping the situation in that case. Okay? Okay, ethics complaints. Let's hope you never have to see one. Okay, an ethics complaint can be filed by anybody, just so you know, as opposed to advisory opinions. Advisory opinions can only be filed by board members. And the important thing is there's the details there, and again, you're gonna get this about your time frame of when you can do things, whatever. You wanna use that as your last resort. If you have an issue with a board member, talk to them. That's always the best first step. Don't let it build up to the point where you're going to just go right to an ethics complaint. It's not good for anybody, and it also is gonna cost the district money because the attorneys are gonna be involved and it's gonna have to be paid by the district. So, I'm not saying that they're not valid and important, but what I am saying is always try to resolve the issues before getting to that point. Penalties, sanctions, so when you go through filing a complaint, these are the 4 outcomes that come from doing a complaint. The commissioner will make the decision of what the punishment or result of it is. So the first one's a reprimand. It's not a big deal. It's basically a slap on the hand. Then comes the censure, which is a formal disapproval by the commissioner. It's publicized. It has to be a resolution at a board meeting. It's not pretty, okay? Suspension is when a board member is removed from the board for a period of time, and then ultimately removal is that's it, you're off. So, advice of counsel, defense for penalties. So one of the things I mentioned, I think I mentioned it. If you're not sure about something, if you're not sure if you're conflicted, if you're not sure that you're following the ethics heads as you should be, always ask to speak to your board attorney, okay? That is the person who is going to defend you and make a final decision. I encourage you to feel free to call me as your FSR, and I get a lot of those calls. But ultimately, I would say more than 50% of the time, probably my answer is, well, that's a gray area, and you're gonna wanna, or here's what you should do, but always run it by your attorney. Because the attorneys know your district a lot better, and they're the ones that are going to defend you. That being said, if you go and your attorney tells you something and you do something different, that's not good. And that's what this point is. If you don't follow the recommendation of your board attorney, you don't have that defense, okay? All right, code of ethics cases. Let's see if this is one I've already covered. You're gonna get a bunch of slides like this. I don't wanna keep you all night, and I'm not gonna get into too much detail. We'll talk about it. There's some other stuff I wanna make sure we cover. When you get this, if you look there, the C in front of the numbers, this is the summary of the different ethics cases that came out, and then the details behind it. If you click on the link, it will take you there, and then it also lets you know what the results were. The first example, real quick, is one where a board member told the public the board was prepared to reduce instructional time by 40 minutes per day after the superintendent had explicitly told her numerous times that revealing that information would hurt the board's position in union negotiations. The situation was one that individual sat on the committee for the transportation costs were astronomical, and the district was trying to find a way to make adjustments so they could afford the transportation. And part of that discussion came to 40 minutes per day to adjust the transportation things. So what happened is that board member did go out and do it, and what was also happening is there were 8 different associations coming up for negotiations. And it tipped the hand, it ruined their position for negotiations, and at the end, that board member was censured. These are some more examples. Some of these are entertaining, but in a sad way, not in a good way. You don't want to be these districts that run into this because they become popcorn districts and people aren't used to watch it for the entertainment like you would watch Real Housewives. It's not good. So I won't go into all of these. Let's talk about recusal versus abstention. They're not interchangeable, okay? You abstain from something because you're choosing not to vote on it. You recuse yourself because you cannot vote on it, okay? Recusing yourself is more of a legal or a conflict situation. So when you recuse yourself, you're not just recusing yourself from the vote, you're recusing yourself from the discussion. So keep that in mind if you are conflicted. We'll get into that in a minute. But if you are conflicted, it is your responsibility to know that and speak up and leave the room for discussion and not vote on it, okay? Abstention, you may choose not to vote on it because you don't want to take a side either way, or I think a perfect example is the minutes. You may abstain, it's just the last meeting, and it's time to approve the minutes, you abstain because you weren't there for the minutes, so you have no idea, so you abstain. Anybody make questions on that? Recusal, no? Relationship definitions. This sums up immediate family, relative. There's everything in this. This is a nightmare. And what you will see, relatives can create conflicts. We just had this in the district the other day. And I had done this presentation on conflicts and board roles the month before. And yet people were still shocked that they were conflicted by having a family member employed by the district. That's a conflict. And when you get this, or if you just ask me, I will happily provide it to you also, that A1123 is a decision which will give you a full chart. So if you're not sure, and it's literally, your second cousin, your twice removed this, it will tell you whether or not you're conflicted in a situation. So it's something good to check out. But remember, it's your job to identify if you think you're conflicted. If you're not sure, err on the side of caution, speak to your board attorney. Okay, so advisory opinions are different than ethic complaints. Ethic complaints, like I mentioned, can be put forth by anybody, community members. It doesn't even have to be in your community, it can be anybody, a board member, another district board member. That being said, advisory opinions are, as I mentioned earlier, it goes to that committee of 9, and there's only 6. And I believe they have to have 6 together to make a decision. So now you've got a board of 6 and you know what it's like to get everybody to show up. So advisory opinions are very difficult to get. So these restrictions have been put in place because obviously as a board member you don't want to do the wrong thing, and it is important to ask the questions. You know what to do, but it's frustrating when you can't get the answer when you're trying to find out what to do, right? Or you're going to be conflicted whether there's an issue. So if you want an advisory opinion, it has to have to do with you, and it has to have to do with with your board in particular. You can't ask just a theoretical question, and that's to keep down the number of questions. And it can only be done by a board member. It can't be done by outside folks. Okay. But you can always ask for one. It's an opinion as to whether any proposed activity or contact would, based on the ethics, be in violation or be a conflict. The key is here, once you ask for that advisory opinion, not unlike when you ask for your attorney's advice, if you don't follow it, it's probably going to be a lot worse down the pipe for the results. So what might have been a smaller consequence will most likely be a larger consequence. There's tons of advisory opinions, and what's nice about these is opposed to the complaints, they're very clear, they're questions. So you can go through these, and if you look down the list, and you can Google these also if you would like. If you're not sure of something before you, one of the other restrictions they put in place for the advisory opinion, before you ask for an advisory opinion, do your homework. They don't wanna be bogged down by things that have already been done, that are repetitive. So you could Google your question, and it will come up if there's one like it. You can also call us, we have the legal department, they're phenomenal. We had, again, I was in district with, my mentor last night, and ran into a problem with a conflict, surprised the board, not sure why, but, in order to help them understand, we came up with 2 advisory opinions on that subject and had it to them first thing this morning, to help them better understand. It's also important to understand it is not New Jersey School Board Association responsible for making these decisions. We are not the police. We do not do any of that. However, we're here to help you to get through that piece, okay? All right, so again, you're gonna get these in the slide when you get the slide presentation, you can go through all those. Here we go, ethics regulations, definition of a benefit. All right, this is one of those examples, right, that can lead you astray. What you may think is a benefit, or you might not think is a benefit, may be perceived as a benefit. Perceived is the word you're gonna be saying in your sleep again tonight as well. That is the one that just keeps coming up over and over and over again. Okay, this is one. A board member was running, for General Assembly. He was the board president. During the meeting, during board business, he mentioned to the audience that he was running. Please feel free to support me in this role. Obviously, you can't do that because you're doing board business and taking advantage of that opportunity. It ended up being a reprimand, but again, you could read more details. I'm making it quick. It's, you know, his belief was probably, well, I've got all these people and I do all this work and I think they should support me. Not the right thing to do. Prohibited acts. Again, this is gonna go into the conflicts, right? So if you have a business that might be doing business with the district, these are the list of things that you need to consider. Gifts, favors. I'd like to say they're common sense, but if you read these decisions and take the time, what you assume is common sense, sometimes it's not. One of the examples that we're gonna get to is a board member who was a board member and a volunteer in a district, also volunteered, strictly volunteered, no money involved at all, in a tutoring for children that needed help with tutoring, and he was part of an organization that tutored children for free, right? Great partnership with them. This is a wonderful opportunity for a board member. That board member then brought it to the school, got involved in the school. It turned out actually being one of the prohibited acts. It would appear, and honestly, if you read that, it's very convoluted going back and forth and a hard time making a decision. But at the end of the day, it's a conflict. If you added a few different pieces to it, it'd be better understood why it's a conflict, because it seems like it's such a perfect match. But you have to keep your different pieces separate. Just remember that. Even if you think it's for good, because that's a lot of times that's how these mistakes are made. You think you're doing the right thing, it's gonna help somebody, and then you end up in a situation. All right, let me get through this quicker. Again, obviously financial issues are a problem. We're gonna talk about board member use their position or secure privileges and advantages of using board counsel to represent her in ethics proceedings. I don't know if this is the one, but one of these, because there's a couple of them. A board member had an ethics complaint put against them. They were provided an attorney to help defend them. The bill for that attorney came up on the bills list. That board member, and it says it right in there, and if you read this, it's important. It was a huge stack of bills that were being approved, right? That attorney fee for that situation was on there. She approved the bulk. And in doing so, she violated. She made a violation because she approved something for herself, which she should have abstained or recused herself. Okay? And there's another example where a superintendent, because it does come up the prohibited acts of administration as well, a superintendent have a relative that works in the district and you become a board member, you are conflicted for that individual. So you won't be able to be involved in any decisions on a board level, from their immediate supervisor up. I appreciate that, I really do. Depending on where they are, like if they're superintendent, then it's that up, right? But that's just trying to check top of the house. If you are a board member, you cannot hire a relative, okay? So if they're there, your grandfather, then you come on board, but now that you're on, you cannot hire one. And then you're conflicted, and there'll be other charts about it, obviously, when it comes to different things, personnel negotiations, again, any decisions on anybody above them in the chain. Including the superintendent, so that's the second one, right? So since the superintendent is above them in the chain, you also need to not be involved in the superintendent evaluation. And this is the one that I ran into the other day. Can't be involved in superintendent search either. Part-time assignments. Yeah, so when you start doing your committee assignments, make sure that you let your board president know if you have any conflicts. This is a great chart. It helps you a little bit understand if you're conflicted. I won't get too into detail, but I'll give you the first one for example. So if your relationship to a board member is immediate family member or relative, and they work in the district, and they're a current member of they're not even a current member of the union, can you participate in negotiations and vote to ratify the contract? No. So you're gonna say, why? If they're not in the union, why would that be an issue, right? They're not in the association. It's an issue all the time for any employees in the district because the assumption is most other salary and increases and everything else tend to run off of the negotiation, the contract that comes out of that. All right, campaigns and collective bargaining. I just want to take a moment here also, since it goes into campaigns. As board members, you're starting a new year. Board members run campaigns. They can get pretty ugly these days, unfortunately, and they get very political, which they shouldn't be. You need to leave that behind when you come to the table. And even though you may be appreciative of the people that helped get you elected, once again, I want to remind you that you do not represent that group of individuals. You represent the entire district. So that's something that's really important to remember because those individuals will be coming to meetings to see that you're going to do what you promised. And sometimes, especially if you are a new board member, you make promises that you don't realize you are not able to keep. Because you don't know what you don't know until you get to the table. And I'd say probably maybe 80% of board members will tell you that. There's going to be that aha moment where you're sitting here and say, oh, I didn't realize that's why we did this, or I didn't realize why that was an issue, because there's a lot of things that the public isn't aware of. Now, in this situation, this is an example of endorsement of a candidate by a local association. That happens during elections. There's, it happened during my elections. You would think that if the association gave a financial contribution to a board member, that certainly that board member would not be able to be on negotiations, but that's not the reality. It's usually about a 1-year wait before you can be on the negotiations. And then if there is no financial situation to it, in other words, they just endorsed you verbally, you actually would be able to be on negotiations. Doesn't necessarily mean that you should be, however. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you should want to be. Volunteering in the school, this is a real dicey one. If you have, especially if you have children in the school, what I tell my board members, everybody knows you're a board member. You might not realize it, but you walk in, you are literally wearing the tiara, the sash, the hat, the everything. And had a call from a superintendent from a district not so long ago. The board member, again, I won't remind you, it is perception. So of course they're enthusiastic, they love the school, they love the district, they have a grandchild in the district, they're very involved with the PTA or PTO or whatever it is. So they're there and they're helping out. But what you have to remember is the the perception of the staff and the teachers. You should know your role as a board member is not to be in the district unless you're invited into the district. Gets a little dicey when you're a parent, right? Because you're going to go in for different things. And you should. You should be there for your child. You will always advocate for your child. That's first and foremost. It surpasses any role as a board member. That being said, don't confuse the two. Make sure you're stating, I'm here on behalf of my child. I'm here as a parent. I am not a board member. Okay? You want to be careful when you say that. You're not. It's not like I'm not a board member. Wink, wink. It is clearly understood. This is my role here. Because it gets a little messy. So the example that I gave, the board member, it was a new superintendent looking for advice. The board member was experienced. Her daughter was head of the PTO. She was at an event helping out, and it was back to school night, and they had a table for the PTO, and the board member said, oh, we need more room, we need another table. And she went to whomever, the principal, superintendent, and said, oh, we need another table over here. And they said, oh no, that's the one for the PTO, that one's for the Girl Scouts. And then the board member made the comment, oh, I guess we better put that in the budget for next year. The board member thought they were being funny, but that's one of those sticky situations. When I was going over this with the superintendent, who again was a newer superintendent, I said, they have to understand the difference between wearing the board hat. And she said, oh, well, that was the other thing. She did say to me, but I was wearing my board shirt. Literally wearing a hat instead of wearing a shirt. So again, you're not always perceived as a board member to be a welcome individual in the district because staff and teachers get nervous that you're checking on what they're doing. So be aware of that. Again, volunteering. If you're going in the district for any reason, let your superintendent know. If you're going in because you were invited in for something, if you're invited in to read for the PTO or for the library or whatever else it might be, make sure your superintendent's aware. Because everybody, if you don't, they're going to be aware by the end of the day, but somebody's going to make the call. And that way, at least your superintendent's prepared and knows why you were there, and it's also for your own defense. But there you go, it was in the school. See? I'm ahead of myself here. Again, refrain from any related board discussion. I was very friendly. I was the PTO president and everything else in my district before I became a board member. Little district. Who would think it's an issue? They all know me. I'm not that kind of person, right? I would get comments once in a while from teachers that I would be on vacation with, like I ran into them, and vacation, and they'd be like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to school first day, just so you know. I'm like, what are you telling me this for? You don't report to me, So it's just there all the time. You'd be surprised at how you're looked at. And so refrain from any related board discussion. Don't ask, if you're not there for an official visit as a board member, don't ask a teacher, so what do you think about the new curriculum? One of the things you'll learn as a board member, your role is to listen. That is maybe 75% of what you should be doing. Listen to what people say. Don't necessarily give them a ton of information. And bring that back and have those discussions with what you hear. Social media. If you have a page from your election, either this year or from a past year, take it down. If you have a social media page, which everybody uses, and that's fine, take them down. Do not continue to use them. People do not understand the difference in the time frame. They may have come across your social media page from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever the case may be. Read something that happens to become relevant, and they think it is your current perspective. It's not a good idea. When you run as a campaign, it is different. When you are here, you are a member of a board. You are stating out there what you think needs to be done. But once you become a board member, you should be well aware that what you want really doesn't matter. You are one of whatever it is, 5, 7, 9, whatever your board is. You alone are a piece of that. But you alone don't have the authority to make change. There is, on your personal social media page, refrain from making comments on your personal page, even though you may control who sees it. Sometimes people see that shouldn't. One of the things that came up in this Facebook groups, right? So everybody's got the moms group, the Facebook group, and it's not just moms on there. And you'll see, as a board member, if you're on these groups, and you'll see, oh, is there going to be school tomorrow? It's snowing. When are we going to hear? What's happening? What are we going to do? Or you say, oh, there's something on there. The board just made this decision, or they just did this. And you know it's completely false do not answer that, don't answer it. I guarantee you 5 minutes from now, somebody else will answer it. It may be right, it may be wrong, but somebody else is gonna do it. Don't get involved in those kind of things. Also, great for you to be on it, know what the community's thinking. Don't answer it. Somebody will get it, right? It doesn't have to be you, not on social media. It is not the place to debate these things. There is a disclaimer for you, however, if you choose to go on social media and make a stand on your position on something, and make sure that it's understood. Use that disclaimer. That is not a get out of jail free card. There have been situations where people have used that. It helps provide clarity, but it does not protect you. Okay? And then, I'm not going into them, but these are all the social media cases. These are very interesting. Okay, some other little tidbits, and then I promise I won't keep it that much longer. I apologize, this is a long one. Don't text from the board table. If you need your phone out because you have a young child or somebody at home or there's an emergency, you need it just to see if your phone rings or you get a text, take it and leave the meeting. If it's important enough to leave the meeting, obviously you shouldn't do that, but if it's important enough, don't do it at the table. The reason for that is you can have your phone can be requested to be opened because you may be on the phone over here and somebody's on the phone over here and the audience is watching thinking, oh, they're having a side conversation, what's happening? Right? Even though they're probably completely unrelated, doesn't matter. So phones should not be out, and if they are out, because you need it for an emergency situation, if you need a call, you need to do something, you know, ask the excuse.
Can't your texts from the phones also be over at any time? Not
Probably.
even at a, I mean, talk about at a meeting, but in general, because in the past, we've had over
Well-
requests for text on the phones.
Yes, but that is one that will be a quick drive to do it, because if you're shown doing it, that's a legitimate reason to have it done. And then they're also going to go through it for, right, the specific pieces, and it's just a nightmare, and it's embarrassing, don't do it. You know, and don't discuss, just remember, everything you have can probably be looked at. Also, use your board emails, if you have, emails, use your board emails. Don't forward them to your personal, check them regularly, because that keeps it keeps everything separate. It's really important to keep those things separate. It's for your own safety, for your own, just to keep you sane, trust me. And you don't wanna make mistakes, because that's another thing where people have done, which have been complaints, like you send out something, and because you're confusing your board email and your personal email, and you send out something that's personal, like sending to a teacher. Oh, my kid forgot their homework, so I sent it from my board email. Well, that's a problem, right? Keep your lives separate when it comes to this stuff. It makes it easier for everybody. Again, there's your campaign social media page. All right. These are some resources. Again, you're going to get all of this tomorrow. And that's it. Yay! Don't hesitate to call me. I'll leave some cards before I leave, so you have my card, my number's on there, it goes right to my cell phone. Don't hesitate to call me if you have a question. Sometimes I get calls because people just need to vent a little bit. That's okay too, because it's confidential. If somebody calls me, I'm not going to have to tell the board president I spoke to you. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a good poker player, so I get the question, did so-and-so call you? And I say nothing, because I'm not gonna tell you one way or the other. But don't assume because I say something, or I'm not gonna tell you that nobody must have called. I will not discuss with you what somebody else told you, no matter what your role is. So you have that confidentiality. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations, by the way, and thank you to everybody. This is a really hard job, and I appreciate you, so thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Then now we're gonna move to the topic of the discussion, motion to. I have my glasses, so I can get to it. Okay, so we're gonna move into motions and move into public comments. A statement made by individual participants are limited to. Oh, motions? Motion. Okay. A statement made by individual participants are limited to a duration of 5 minutes unless otherwise announced at the beginning of the discussion. The board urged large groups to select one person to represent them. The board reminds those individuals who take the opportunity to speak to please step up to the microphone and identify themselves by name and address. The board may or may not respond to the issues raised by members of the public. All comments will be considered and responded with the forthcoming, if when appropriate. The board asks all members of the public to be courteous, mindful of the right of the individual when speaking, especially the board discards comments regarding students and employees and that will not respond to such comments. Please note that after the public discussion is closed by the president, no other questions or comments from the audience will be permitted.
Is this on the agenda or any topic?
Any topic.
Question? If this is like, I see that there's any topic and resolution and discussion on its own, so are we going to have any public comments after we vote on the reorg agenda, or will it be like?
Well, usually there's a section for topics on resolution discussion items only,
Yeah.
and then later on there's a session
Okay, so-
on any topic, but Ralph said any
No,
topic.
so I apologize. Let's not,
That's okay.
let's follow procedure. Let's just on resolution only, and then we'll go back to that. Sorry, Joanne.
No, no problem. Glad for clarification.
Okay. So motion to vote on the comment? Mike first.
Public comments for agenda items closed.
Okay, so now we're moving to,
It had a motion, but there was no
consent
vote.
item D1 to D. Now we're moving to consent resolution D1 to D4.
Is there no public comment?
They will close it, right? Yes, close it.
Could you
No one.
bring the mic closer, because we really can't hear you. Bring it closer to your, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's better.
Okay, sorry. I didn't. Okay, so now we're moving to categories D, reorganization resolution, consent resolution D1 to E4. Motion?
D4, I'm wondering, are we gonna?
Smith motion.
Motion.
Zero, one, Laura, two. Okay.
D4, are we gonna allow, changes to our remote policy, or look into it? Because this is setting date, time, and place for board meetings. And for D19, are we gonna maybe shop and see if, bring something to the public, so they can see if we're shopping and see if we're doing the right thing for the town and the district?
Okay, go back. So your question, what motion?
D4, are we gonna set date times? And I know we had a problem with the remote policy before. Are we gonna add something with remote to it? And then for D19, are we gonna look to shop for vendors?
So I could elaborate a little bit on the before. I think we're going to create a committee and we're going to showcase to the community that we are spending our money wisely. So, I'm gonna meet with the superintendent and, go over all our vendors. We're gonna do the proper way, we're gonna create a committee. And in the old days, many years ago, we're lucky that possibly could help me with this. We created RSP, like people went for proposal. And then we met with those people, each vendor with their proposals, and make sure we are spending our taxpayers properly. So that's.
So for these two, how should we, purchase the remote and the vendors?
So can I just chime in regarding D4? So D4 is the time and place. This is just establishing your calendar of meetings for the upcoming school.
Okay.
Yes. So during the discussion, if the board members, let's say, are not available on any of these dates, want to change any of these particular dates, now's the time to discuss it, make changes to this, and then you would vote on an amendment to this that would modify the dates,
But it
right?
doesn't have anything to do with remote then?
Right.
Okay.
Remote's gonna be separate because remote
Okay.
is now changing the particular policy, and that requires 2 readings.
Okay.
So that's something that you would bring to your committee, your policy committee. We generally had a committee of the whole for policy, but the board president now can establish standing committees where you have the smaller committees or can continue as a policy of the whole. Either way, that committee body is the person who would review that particular policy, any particular proposed changes, bring it back to the Board of Education. The board would vote on it on the first reading, then would have to vote in it on the second reading.
So, we're voting on the items, E1 to E4.
And regarding shopping.
What, are you pulling anything from the agenda or? Yeah.
Ralph, is that E4 or D4?
E4 is the daytime.
I know, E4 or D4, in the consent.
A4.
Can we pull D4 and what was the, it was D19, right?
D19.
Can we pull that from the consent agenda and do that separately?
Yes, you could do a motion to vote on those separately.
Yeah, I move to, pull that from the agenda, vote on it separately.
So just want to keep in mind, while you can certainly move forward with RFPs, I'm not sure, and I'm going to defer to Dr. Anamone as the status of all of the contracts. This is your reorg meeting as well, so you have to make sure you have these contracts in place. Now, that means you can still look for RFPs, but I just want to, by pulling this, I just want to question, I'm not sure if any of them are expiring soon. Will that leave you in a position where you do not have a professional services contract in place? Now, voting on it doesn't mean that you can't still look and propose an RFP while these contracts are in place. And in fact, the resolution language, if you read it, says that you would approve the contracts as such time as the board desires or sees fit to issue a request for a proposal. So this does not eliminate your ability to authorize a request for proposals, but and again, I want to defer to Dr. Amon because I don't know what the expiration of these contracts are, but that's just my own caution is if you pull it or don't vote on it, are any of these expiring?
And I also heard something about a 30-day holdover. Is that something that is relevant to this topic?
No, I agree with you. We're voting today to agree with those,
Yes.
services. We are not pulling those services. We just want to make sure that community knows that going forward, we will review, like we used to do in the old days.
Right.
Maybe before COVID, we used to have committees and maybe
Right.
2 or 3 per year. We have, our vendors, and we created those communities. It's a great way to challenge vendors that they're providing the best service and they're not getting away by charging us too much. So,
Just wanted to
spark
clarify.
no, I totally understand. We are
Ralph, to
agreeing.
your point,
Today we are.
And also,
to your point, RFPs, yes, we did do RFPs. Yes, it's a good thing to go out and we rotated,
Correct.
okay? But if we don't vote on something now, we're putting the district in jeopardy.
No, I agree.
I also want to note for the record that by pulling this, voting on it separately, it doesn't mean that I'm voting against it. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm voting against it, just to make sure that it's not combined with all the other stuff that we also have to prove, like voting on it separately, and is that,
I'm gonna vote consent, yes.
Can I just jump in here for a second? So I've been in districts where, mid-year there was a change in, legal counsel, and most all the big firms charge about the same rate. They're within about $5 per hour. So there's no real savings there, but what we did have to do was myself, the BA, my director of special services, my assistant superintendent had to meet with the new firm to bring them up to speed on all the existing lawsuits that we had, all of our labor contracts, all of our past practice sidebars, basically everything that goes on in the district. And when we got the bill, it was a large chunk of money all at once, because we had to bring, a district this size, maybe it's 15,000, but that's on top of our normal legal expenses. So if we were to switch legal counsel mid-year, we'd be throwing away a good amount of money. And we're heading into a tough fiscal year, a tough couple of fiscal years. 26, 27 is gonna be tough, 27, 28 is gonna be more difficult. We don't know what our state aid is, so I don't wanna rattle any feathers or whatever, but we know our healthcare costs are going up dramatically, not just here, the whole state. I'm sure you've read the newspapers recently. So we wanna save every penny we can. And if there was ever a point where I felt we could get better legal counsel with a different firm, I would speak to the board president myself, and I'm not doing that. I think we get great counsel from Francis, her whole firm. They're well regarded throughout the whole state. They're a full service firm. So if you had any other type of legal issues, they can cover it all. Francis is the educational expert. They have other departments as well. It's what they call a full service firm. So we're very well represented. Your tax dollars are very well spent. When I call Francis, we'll have a conversation. She'll bill me for 6 minutes of legal counsel, which is a pretty small fraction of whatever the hourly rate is. So it's 1/10 of that. And then I have my watch and I'll hang up because I don't want to go over the 6 minutes and get billed for 2/10 of a minute. So that would be my remark to the board.
To thank you, Dr. Anamon, we're not talking specific about the attorneys, because the group and I went through this same rodeo maybe 10 years ago, and we switched attorney to the current we have. So we're not like picking on the attorney. We're saying services or offices as a whole that we want to do this. But you brought that up, and yes, what happened back then, I remember 3 law firms came, and we selected yours because it was one of the best, and I think it was at that time with negotiation, and that was what, if I remember correctly, that was the big spark that drove us to get you a spec. Again, it's not to single the attorney per se, it's all service that we provide to make sure we showcase to the community, your taxpayers are being spent correctly. It's not, and by doing that, is you get an RSQ, and then you have people interview, and then you pick the best service. A lot of work, so I don't foresee doing more than 2 or 3 per year. But that's the future. And again, as Francis, today we're not here today. We're just here to approve all of them and move forward for the future.
And that's why I wanted to confirm, because
Yes,
while
that's
it is
fine.
the board's prerogative to go out for an RFP, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't taking any action that would, whether it's an auditor, whether it's your accountant, that you're
Yeah,
not
correct.
gonna actually cut any services
No.
while you are looking for to do that. Because this resolution is still authorizing you to consider all of those options.
Great point. Right.
So, you wanna do a motion on consent items?
Yes, except removing,
except the 4 and, do you want to keep 19 in, or?
No, we're voting,
Voting?
19 staying.
Okay,
okay,
so just hold the 4.
So, in order to do so, you need another motion, because now you're modifying a motion
okay.
that's on the agenda.
Motion to order.
Okay, so then essentially, someone would have to first move the motion to vote on the items, and then whichever items are all gonna be blocked together via consent, and then and a motion to separate, so.
But you
someone-
said the internet had nothing, the remote had nothing to do with that, so.
Exactly.
Okay, so,
Gonna meet her every year. I have to contact the meeting.
So motion to approve consent items D1 to D4. Motion. D4. D1 to D4.
Yeah, D1 to D4.
Okay, and then by separate, do we do the separation now with D4 or?
You have to make a motion.
Make a motion like we did before.
Why
Make a
do you
motion to
separate?
separate D4.
Yeah, I move to separate D4 from, the consent resolution.
And I need a second.
Why are we separating?
Why are we separating?
I thought we just went through, we need to approve this.
D4 is the, board meeting calendar for 2026.
Which is based upon district deadlines and the district calendar.
Correct, we just want to make sure, it's basically, for full
You wanna
disclosure.
discuss it and still approve it?
I wanna discuss
One
it,
day, yeah.
if I may, for full disclosure, in communicating with you and Dr. Animal, that one day, especially when I'm coming, I might not be able to make it, I will do my best because of work conflict, so I'm asking if it's possible, only if it's possible, I don't know if you wanna create any drama, especially in my new role, if it could be, instead of, January 22nd to the 29th, that only, it's possible, that's what I'm discussing.
Ralph,
Just
if I
take the
may,
motion to
all right, on 19, if I read it correctly, we're authorizing the continuation of these contracts to June 30th of 2026. Okay, so this is within the consent resolution. Why are we pulling that? Why do we want to carve that out?
No,
Can
we're
I
not
get,
pulling now.
it said 19.
Yeah, no, I'm
That
I'm
motion
not
never got a
reconciling
second.
that.
That
Not
motion didn't get a second, so it's
Okay,
not, it's
thank
not
you.
moved.
Thank you.
It's D4 now.
So that is.
I'd just like to ask for clarification, is there a timeout, like, there's currently a motion on the floor, my understanding is there's currently a motion on the floor that never received a second, so is there a timeout on motions?
I withdraw the motion either way, so.
Okay.
Well, just so we know for the future.
So if there wasn't a second, then it would just fall, and then we return to the, standard motion.
But what's a reasonable amount of time, like 30 seconds, a minute?
I mean,
Okay.
you just go around, is there a second, there's no second, it wouldn't pass, and then, it wouldn't get raised, and then it just default to the entire motion.
Thank you.
Motion to approve consent resolutions D1 to
So I'll move forward to, consent resolution approval, D1 to E4.
Motion.
Second one?
All right, Mr. Boric,
Yes.
Mr. Custodian,
Yes.
Mr. Grippa,
Yes, but I recuse on D20 and D31.
Ms. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs,
Yes.
Mr. Joe,
Yes.
Mr. Morilla,
Yeah.
motion carries.
So now we move into public comments and questions, and the same statement of state. Motion. Motion?
This motion.
Second?
Second. Joe, second.
Okay, go ahead.
So the public comments stay the same, statements made by individual. Participant are limited to a duration of 5 minutes unless otherwise announced by, at the beginning of the discussion. The board uses large group to select one person to represent them. The board remind those individuals who take the opportunity to speak to please step up to the microphone, identify themselves by name and address. The board may or may not respond to those issues raised by the member of the public. All comments will be considered and response will be forthcoming, if any appropriate. The board asks all members of the public to be courteous and mindful of the rights of others. Individuals speaking, especially the board discards comments regarding students and employees. I will not respond to such comments. Please do note that after the public discussions is closed by the president, no other questions or comments from the audience will be permitted.
I'll go first. Okay. Do I have to speak at the mic?
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Name and address.
Where am I? 659, Scott Russo, 659 Edgewater Avenue. I'm currently the new fire chief in town. Thank you. I was a deputy chief last year, and the reason I'm rising and came to this Board of Education meeting is I have a concern. And my concern is, I was walking my dog on the hill up there, and I turned and looked at the high school. The high school has solar panels. We understand that solar panels in the firefighting world is very tough for us. Now, I know you probably got a grant to get the solar panels, I'm not sure. It compromises the roof, which means that when I have to send firefighters up there, I have to be very careful around the solar panels, because the solar panels are energized at all times, even if we shut them off. So, two things. One, as the deputy chief last year, I was not advised that not only the high school has solar panels, the other schools have them, correct? Two, I am looking for help, and this is, as the chief this year, it's my responsibility. I can't blame what goes on last year. I can only answer for what happens this year. I want the contact for the maintenance so that I can get my fire department here to tour the solar panel shovels. Okay, that's possible, Doc?
Yeah, we'll reach out.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, or I'm sorry, I mean, either way. But I would like some cooperation, and I'm looking for the cooperation this year from the board to try to, make it a little better, so that, thank God, we don't spend a lot of time here, and at any school. But you gotta know that we're gonna make it safe for everybody. Okay. My second comment sorta has to do with, as a citizen, a little concerned with the fact that if I told you I was gonna make 30% of the fires, I'll commit to the councilwoman here, that I'm gonna make 30% of the fires. Is that a good thing for me or the borough? No, it's not. So why is this board allowing people not to make and properly represent the board? Because as far as I know, my taxes are majorly affected by what this board decides. Because a lot of the things that the taxes go up on is because of school board tax. And that's the only question I have. Thank you for listening.
So, I know this is not the protocol. Can you go over that question number 2? I personally didn't understand the question. So
You had I'm sorry, you had voted on attendance for this meeting. If I said to you, I'm gonna protect your house, but I'm only gonna protect it 30% of the time, how would you feel about that? That should answer my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, Doc? Of course you do.
Joanna Congleton Haley, 475 Abbott Avenue. I am a resident, a mother, and the Board of Education, Mayor and Council Committee Commissioner, and just want to start off by saying welcome to new board members and returning board members. Looking forward to a great year with everyone. Some of the events that we're really looking forward to this year include the upcoming Borough Hall field trips, the International Festival recognition at the Mayor and Council meeting of our Teachers and Educational Specialists of the Year, our Spelling Bee and Science Fair winners, Fire Prevention Day, Junior Police Academy, and the LEAD graduation, amongst others. So I just wanted to make sure that all of our board members are aware of the great partnership we have. I also wanted to say that I understand on a very deep personal level how hard it is to make these commitments. This is not easy. It takes an incredible amount of time, effort, and hard work. As elected officials, we step up, we take on these roles, we swear oaths, we make commitments, and we say, I will put that effort in. As a school administrator, as an educator, as a mother, as an elected official, I implore you, do not take this lightly. The lives and livelihood of my children depend on the decisions that you make in this room. And when you are not in this room, you show me that my children's futures don't matter to you. When you can't sit through an ethics presentation because there are other things going on that makes me nervous as a mom. If this matters to you because it matters to me, and it matters to every taxpayer, and every parent, and every educator, and every community member, you need to take this seriously. And if you cannot, no problem. It is not for the faint of heart. But if I only show up to 30% of mayor and council meetings, I don't deserve my seat. If I only show up to 50% of mayor and council meetings, I don't deserve my seat. If my children only show up to 70% of school, they do not graduate to the next grade. As my elected officials, as the people who are governing decisions on my children, you have to at least set that example. Thank you.
Shaler Boulevard. I'm gonna second what Joanna just said about the ethics presentation. I think some of the community members were paying more attention than some of the new Board of Education members. A lot of cell phone use, a lot of getting up, a lot of distraction, a lot of not paying attention. Even if you don't care, even if you don't want to listen, pretend. Take it. Because we're watching you. My kids are gone now. They're out of school. But I'm still watching. I'm still reading every agenda that comes out. Whether I'm here or not, I'm watching. You could ask Mr. Grippa. I was here for 12 years at every meeting. And every meeting I almost got up every time with Mr. Vincent. When I got up, they all went, oh God, what she had to say. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes I disagreed, sometimes I agreed, but I was watching. You are elected officials, and we're putting our children's education in your hands. And also the teachers. We forget about the teachers. We're talking about the kids, but the teachers are in your hands too. We expect you to do right by them too, because they put a lot of effort and care into our kids. My kids have fond memories of a lot of their teachers and still come back to talk to them, still write to them to this day. As far as the dates that were in question during the consent, you get these packets at the beginning of the week or a week before. I know you don't get them the day of the meeting. If you have a question about the dates, you could have read them and brought it to everybody's attention via email and questioned them before they even came here. And then presented them. Let's see. And as far as changing president and vice president, I understand you do that every year. But I think that experience says a lot for a person, and this is not against Mr. Joe, but you have to get your feet wet before you can take on a role of such importance. You have to see how a business, for lack of a better term, runs before you could jump into being the boss of it. Now I know Mr. Morello has been around for a while, but first meeting didn't go quite so well. You had to refer to Mr. Gripper quite a few times. You've been here almost as long as Mr. Gripper. You should have a better grip on it. Pardon the pun. So that's all I'm gonna say. I don't wanna be disrespectful, but I did have to say something. Thank you. Good night.
Motion to close, comment, public comment?
Motion.
Now, and now, we're gonna move to G, new business, the discussion of information.
Can I make a comment, real quick, or like a statement?
Okay.
I know I'm a new board member here, and for me, experience isn't about like how many years you served on the board. I've been in this school district all my life, since kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, and the teachers are very important to me. They really shaped me, and I've been in the school, and there are a lot of things where like I believe there has to be change. That was why I was in the student council back when I was in high school. So having the intuitive knowledge of how this school works is very important, and that's the type of experience I want to bring. And I do want to thank a few folks for that are here. Is that okay? Time to do that? Okay. My sister Amy, my uncle Gregory, my uncle Danny was here, but most importantly, I want to thank my mom. She worked so hard to provide for both my sister and I. So people like her truly embodies of why I'm in this seat today. I also want to thank some of my friends for coming. Hamza, thanks for coming. And Mike, I know we were in marching band together, so have fond memories of that. So thank you for coming, and I really appreciate your companionship. But I also want to thank Juliet Nan for her dedicated service on the Board of Education. She brought forward thoughtful ideas that I hope to continue. Particularly, like one of the ideas that I want to propose is the creation of an HIV committee. Establishing this committee would allow the board to provide stronger oversight of HIV cases, better support victims, and take important steps to prevent future incidents. So I hope we can establish this committee. This is like a proposal that I want to put forward, and have this, and if it's accepted by the board, have it at full strength very soon. I also want to thank Claudia Narvaez, the former board vice president, and thank her for years of service on this Board of Education. I know that as a teacher, you as a teacher, you're really dedicated to this type of role. So I hope to follow in your footsteps in a way. Additionally, I want to also congratulate Mr. Jacobs on his election, not just to this board, but as his new role as the president of the NJSBA. So congratulations on that. And I wish you the best of luck in your role. The state is depending on you. Your success is the entire state's success now. So best of luck in that role. And I'm sure we all have the same mission goals. Our children and our teachers and the people who work in this district really shaped me in my life, and it's really important for us to keep their best interests in mind. So I look forward to working with the entire board on that. So as an alumni of the Richwood Public Schools, this district holds a special place in my heart, and I'm deeply honored to return and give back to the community that shaped me. To the people of Richfield, I'm committed to doing everything I can to strengthen our public schools, from Shaler to Bergen to Slocum and to the high school we're sitting here today, and to help all students continue to succeed as we move to an ever-changing future. And the future, although bright, there are challenges ahead, so it's very important that we tackle that. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak on these topics, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And
I'd like to say, with Chief Russo, I think it's a good idea to get the fire department here to tour the school. Cops also, they should be doing this regularly. Just like where I work, we get a bunch of new cops. They need to learn the schools. Fire department also, I think it's a very good idea. The other thing I wanna bring up was, I saw that one of our principals was a crossing guard for a day. I wanna commend him for doing a good job, okay? It's really not an easy job. I wanna say that maybe we can look at, because crossing guards are very important, and I know that the borough pays for it, so maybe we can start looking into the crossing guards to see, how we are with attendance. It's very important that kids get to school safely, so that's
For
all I'm
people
saying.
who don't know, one of the crossing guards didn't show up, and Mr. Yang had to go out and direct traffic at the
I
corner.
just want to say
I
real
spoke
quick,
him.
Joanne, if you could send me that list of everything, and sure we have it, but everything that we.
Of all the, we'll talk about it in the committees.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it's coming, we talk about them.
And also just real quick about the date changes that I should have brought up here. Believe me, this was brought up multiple emails, I do apologize to Dr. Amon and Kevin. For a week, I went back and forth because I was trying to change the schedule. It was not brought up from 5 days that I wanted to change it. I was able to make changes that work by one, which I will. If I have to make it, I'm committed to this, and especially as I was elected president today, I will put that aside. I will do my best to, even though that's what pays my mortgage, but I will make that an exception. But I want to reassure you that that wasn't taken lightly, or wasting people's time or back and forth.
And also, can I, with the meeting dates or any topic in general, I think as board members, we want to conduct stronger oversight. We don't want to do day-to-day management, that's not our job, but having stronger oversight is very important, and I do think that as board members, I just got on, so it might have been a little bit less time, but I'm sure the other board members who are more experienced would have, I think it's very important for all board members to have input on like the meeting dates, or I know there's like a lot of statutory stuff that has to be grappled with, so, but having like at least having us all understand what specifically is like behind these decisions and what's put on the consent agenda is very important. So for us to like have a better understanding of what's going on.
So what Patrick was trying to say, I just want to clarify, my days going back and forth, I didn't realize they were instrumental because there were other days before the board meeting that were happening in order for that. So once I learned that, then I knew that I couldn't change it. Because stuff was happening before, so I do. All right, so now we're gonna move to category G, new business, discussion, information, procedure, anything.
Okay, yeah, so I move to pass the first reading of the policy proposal that revises policy 0131. Do I read the entire thing or the changes?
Yeah.
Attorney.
So essentially, policy committee will go through policies. However, it doesn't preclude a board member from trying to move forward changes of the first reading. It will take a majority of the quorum to approve that. The board members may decide to defer it to the policy committee and send it there so that the committee has an opportunity to review the proposed changes. It also gives the public more of an opportunity to review any proposed changes because, as was mentioned before, typically the agenda is published a couple days in advance, so the public has the opportunity to see that, make comments to it. But you can move policy revision for the first reading, subject to the board authorizing.
Okay.
Patrick, since you brought it up, why don't you just give us what
Yeah.
we're trying
So
to say?
I have 4 policy proposals I'd like to make. The first one is policy 0131, that's amending the bylaws. So I believe, so the only changes I want to make to the bylaws, policy 0131, is put the same standard of burden for abolishment, which currently requires 1 reading, 1 vote. As the same, putting it as the same standard burden as adoptions or revisions to a policy, which requires two readings at separate meetings. The first reading and the second reading / adoption. So putting the same burden, same standard burden on the on like the question like the abolishment, putting the same standard burden on that. Because at the end of the day, it has the same effect. It's changing policy, and that has the same effect, even though it goes in different directions, if that makes sense. So that's one of the policy proposals I would like to make. So is there, like, I think it's best for us to have this at the next meeting, propose, so the public can look at it. Is that? So I'm not sure what if I have to.
want to read more about this on the next meeting.
Yeah. So I just want, I'm not I don't want to pass, I withdraw my motion to pass the first reading, but I do want to refer this to the relevant committee, get this get the first reading passed at the next meeting, and the second reading / adoption at the following meeting.
So Francis, what would be your advice to first send us what the proposal?
Yeah, we need Francis every meeting.
Yeah, so you can email the
This
entire
sounds-
board your proposals. Keep in mind that, the board president will create, right, and assign to the committees who those members will be. Right now, I think in the prior year, you're organizing as a committee of the whole for policy. Whether or not you choose to maintain that model or go into a standing committee, it's subject to the board. Your current policy right now, I think, does default to a standing committee for policy. But you can, at this point in time, send it to all board members for their review. When you have a first and a second reading, that first reading really is where all your substantive changes, your proposed substantive changes have to be made. Because if any substantive changes are made after that, you need another 2 readings. So you wanna make sure that what you're proposing is really amenable to at least a majority of the board members, because then you go to your second reading and then it'll be approved. Again, any changes made, you kind of start back at square one.
Okay.
Question. As of now, we don't have a policy committee like we used to have back in the day. Okay. So can I get some clarity? Is this board gonna run with a committee of the whole for policy?
So my plan is that I'm gonna take a day off or have a day off next week and meet with Dr. Animo, go through all the committees that we have and propose some committees that I would like to have, make the best decision, and from there, I will send an email to all you guys saying, these are the committee that Dr. Animo and I discussed. Which one you would like to participate? Don't guarantee, then him and I, Dr. Animo and I will brainstorm who will be the best candidate for what committee. And then you will get an email. I'm not sure when, but as soon as tomorrow when I get to work, I would request a day off or have a day off and call Dr. Animo to see if he's available that day. First of, and coordinate something. So that's my game plan. And you're right, we used to have in the old days, because I was the chairperson of committee, we don't have it last year. So one of my commitment is to really follow what Ms. Hoffman wants, which what it was and to what it is. And every meeting she always asks, there's a policy change, can you clarify? Was it apple? Now it's orange, like so to speak. So I always thought of you when I thought that, and not to single you out. But that's what I thought. So a policy committee would be in play. Okay.
Yeah, I have a second policy motion, not a motion, but a suggestion, reinstating the remote participation using electronic device. I know there's been a lot of concerns as an out-of-state college student coming to board meetings, but I think especially since I got, not only that I get elected vice president, but also just as a board member myself and as someone who cares about the community, I intend to come to meetings in person as much as possible as any other board member would. If they have to miss something because something came up, that life happens. But for me, I do intend to come in person as much as possible. But I do want to make this, but the reason why I'm making this policy suggestion is because many of us, we have working lives. Some of us are parents, others are working and have demanding jobs. We don't get paid for this. I'm not saying we should get paid for it, but these are working people, regular people who serve for the love of their community. But I also want to make this a proposal to encourage board member participation, I think including everyone as much as possible, even if life happens, is very important. So that's another policy proposal I would like to move forward for the next meeting, and I hope the consensus. I know there's a lot of disagreement with this, but I think if we have a majority, but if the board wishes to implement this policy, I think the will of the board should prevail.
He wants remote.
There was state
Remote?
mandates against it.
Wait,
Yeah, clarification.
One.
Is this to propose, are you proposing
Yeah.
that you have meetings on
No.
No?
Like, for board members to attend remotely.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking.
But what about the rest
So
of
what about
us?
the people?
Like the
Yeah.
teachers who she could have gone home at a half day and she stood here.
So, hold on. So one thing that we're going to move for 2026, right, is going to be follow the procedure. The board's gonna be common, we're gonna close, and then the public. If this interaction back and forth is not, I spoke lengthily with, the administration.
But they didn't follow
it's
any
not
of the
going
other
to happen.
rules because they don't know
What, I'm
Robert's
sorry,
rules.
can you say what it is
So
that's not gonna happen?
So, remember.
You can't
the
talk.
old days-
No, you
No,
can't.
I know,
talk.
I just wanna hear him because we can't all talk at the same
In
time.
the
Go
old
ahead,
days-
Only they can violate Robert's rules, not us.
go ahead.
So in the old days, we used to have, comments on resolution only. So the public would just stay, come in and sit there.
The opposite of what we have right now. That's what you, okay, that's what you're talking about?
Stop it, and then we will answer. The same thing for public. This back and forth, we found that it is not productive, and it is not what we want to. We wanna go back to the root of the cause, the way the agenda is saying.
But the question I asked is about remote.
So we will answer it once you finish.
Are
Okay.
you going back into public comment after this?
Yeah, I'm gonna open for public comment.
Okay,
We're doing it 3 times.
I'll
today.
write them down.
Yeah. So.
This is a no-no.
Thank you, excuse me. All right, just one point. What modifications, and I'm asking for permission, do you propose with Robert's rules, the heart and soul of what we do, what government does? In other words, how many years everybody's running on Robert's rules? Do you plan to amend Robert's rules, or will that be, let's say, the column, the backbone of what we do?
I believe we'll still be the backbone of what we do.
Okay, thank you.
We just moved to adopt Robert's rules for the year,
Yeah, we did.
so.
So we're following Robert's rule, but I want to make a suggestion, so the public and all the other board members have a chance to review them prior to the next meeting. Okay, and then also my third proposal is,
One other comment before we move forward. On the remote meeting thing, board members, if they attend remotely, cannot
Cannot vote?
be included in closed session.
Executive.
Because in executive session, there's no restriction on who's listening on your end. So anybody remotely cannot be part of an executive session, which makes your contribution not plausible. I mean, you know what I mean?
yeah, and also like the reason why we're not voting on this today, but voting on it on the next meeting is because so like the attorneys can review them, the legality of it, of these proposals, and if they're illegal, then we can't, then.
I'm not saying illegal. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
one thing with remote was that we can't take the laptop into executive session because you don't know who's on the other end.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's another thing.
And there was like a clause I saw in the old proposal we had, there was board members shall be in a private space. So is that like?
And there's no way to confirm that. That's why we stopped
It's not
bringing
a private space.
laptops into executive session. I'm just throwing it out there.
And
I'm
also
just
I
giving
would
you a
like,
reason.
yeah, and also I would like to mention, like other districts have a form of this policy. I have a list of them here,
So Patrick, when you submit that to Frank,
Yeah.
the review, include that.
yeah,
We'll submit everything to Kelvin and Dr. Anamone, and then they can forward it to me.
Yeah.
You can copy,
Because
Mr. Maria.
that's your research.
Yeah,
And then all the districts follow the procedure that you're trying to establish. Okay.
and then, and so my third proposal is policy, 0155, the board committees, So, I know Ralph, and, Ms. Anon, before had an idea, to like make sure that, board members aren't, like one single board member is not too empowered, and making sure that every board member can be heard, because at the end of the day, we're elected by the people, and we all have the mandate to like represent them, and have our voices heard as well. So those are the changes I would like to make, and then also adding the HIV oversight committee and an outreach committee, which would do outreach to the public, be responsible for that as a standing board committee, not like a temporary board committee such as the International Festivities Committee, but as a standing board committee and enshrined in policy.
International
So again, I will
festivals,
be meeting with
temporary?
Dr. Anamon to go over.
Yeah, so I'd like to propose that in the next meeting.
So, yeah, I will meet with Dr. Anamon and go through all the committees that will make sense.
Yeah.
So for now, it's just conversation.
Yeah, for now it's just,
Proposal, that way we are all transparent. Oh, I wanna use the word honest, what we are trying to do, and then meet with Dr. Anamon, and then hopefully next meeting will go better, or we'll go, totally honest of what we're trying to.
Ralph, just one last point, in your deliberations, what I would ask you to do is to factor in, and I understand what Patrick is saying, fairness, okay, but there's another factor, experience, okay? If you're on a finance committee, and with due respect, is there a good fit for an educator? So if you have the ability with the membership to match the experience, I do believe that is a benefit for this district. All right, in other words, it's not difficult, you just have to be lucky. All right, and we've run that way over the years, and you know that, and also, nothing wrong with bringing in new blood, they learn. I've rotated, as you know, members of committees, because everybody gets a chance, because you want them to learn, not when they're needed, but when they have the time to learn. So again, I'd appreciate if you would factor in the experience, the professionalism outside of the boardroom, their business, whatever profession they're in.
Definitely, that will
Thanks.
factor in. So one of the main drivers for this policy to be is, as you know, for many years, like, Juliette and I will really advocate for this policy to make sure all board members elected by the public have equal share accountability instead of being excluded. So that, I guess this is a great opportunity to factor experience, but also to factor that monopolize one committee is not the way to go. The wealth has to be distributed. And I believe 4 or 5 years ago, I used it, if you guys remember, the analogy of a cookie. All of us want equal part of this cookie, not just one, not just a selected group. But again, Dr. Anamon and I will meet and discuss what makes that.
and for full transparency, my proposal would also make committee meetings may be conducted remotely through electronic device at the discretion of the chairperson. And I want the consensus of the board to prevail, even if it goes against this proposal or goes forward, for the board to amend it however they would like to. And then my final policy proposal is the conduct of board meetings, specifically regarding the presiding officer. I do want a smoother leadership at the helm. So in case of this is not supposed to be used frequently, like the chances of both the president and vice president being absent, there's like a 1% chance of that happening essentially. But changing that where the president can designate another board member that's physically present is another proposal I would like to make for the next meeting. So
And what policy number was that?
that was 0164.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all from me, but if any of you want to. What? Yeah. What? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the final, another proposal, then I know this has been a hot topic on the board, and I know there was a committee on the whole for 57, 56, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I do also have a proposal where parents should know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. I'm not the expert in like how to make it like compliant with the law.
Don't say it. That's my advice is if you don't know, don't talk about it.
Especially when it's being recorded.
Yeah.
Also minimize disruption.
So now,
Yeah, but I also have like I want to put this in front of the board attorney to review it.
Whatever you have should go to Kelvin, and Kelvin
Yeah.
will disseminate it between everybody, the appropriate parties.
Yeah, I sent the board policy proposals. The first four I did send it to the board, the superintendent, the board.
okay, so we're gonna close, motion to close. Motion to.
We're discussing this on.
Okay, so motion to open, public comment.
Wait,
Motion.
how do you know nobody has any other new business?
Didn't finish. They didn't finish new business. Only us. Only we have to follow Robert's rules. Not them.
Oh, okay.
Public comment is open.
Public comment.
I have one here.
Please.
Lisa Hoffman, 823 Linden Avenue. Here's the thing, if you want to do virtual, do virtual. I know Ms. Brenhold, and not to call you out, I'm not on the board, I can. Today was a half day, right? Here is a teacher, Ms. Brenhold, she comes up and makes comments. She lives an hour away, okay? She could have got, what time did you get up?
12:18.
She could have gone home at 12:18. She stayed here as well as, I know another male teacher, I'm assuming it's you, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, and other people to come here and be present tonight and support the organizations that they're in, like the NJ, you know, the different groups, whatever. Sometimes they come, they support the kids when we have Christmas. They could have gone home. Now, if you want to go virtual, like, cool, let's do virtual. Find a way. It was done in COVID, and I know COVID was the exception and stuff, but other schools do it all the time. So let's do it virtual. Lori's a teacher. Her school does it virtual. The school before that did virtual meetings. So find a way to do it, but not just for the board members, for everybody, so it's fair for everybody. Like, I think we'd all like to be home right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're going on over 2 hours at this point. So what I'm asking the board is, whatever you expect for you, like, please extend that courtesy to everybody else. And also, it'd be amazing, because then I wouldn't have to be here recording, because if you're virtual, it's recording and anybody can play back, and I think that is great, because everybody here ran on transparency. So that makes it as, you can't get more transparent than that. So we can all sit in our pajamas, be happy, and everything's transparent. And I could be wrong, but didn't you have like 100 people during COVID who were logging in?
They did, they couldn't get
Like,
in.
yeah, they couldn't get, like,
hardly get
people, you know, they'll come and they'll tell me, it's happening in Richmond. I get so many, 30, 50 messages a month, and they're like, why can't we get into this? Why can't we do that? I'm a mom who's working, and I watch when I would live stream. I know Patrick Joe would watch when I was live streaming. Like, let's all stay home in our pajamas. Just make it fair for everyone.
Points of clarification. I just want to make sure that I have the information correct in my notes. It was mentioned that the International Festival is a temporary committee.
There's on policy 0155. Currently there are lists. There's a list of
So, just a
7.
point of order, during a public comment session, members of the public make comments, and at the very end, the
If you
board
like-
president, who presides over the meeting, will determine whether or not a response is warranted, if so, by the board president, member of administration, or another member of the board.
Thank you.
So I think that's one of the best events we've done in decades. And if it's temporary, please move quickly to make it not so. Dr. DePaz has literally put blood, sweat, and tears into that for years. I know because I sit beside her and I'm at every meeting in person, not virtually. So if it is a temporary thing, please make it a real thing. That makes my heart very sad. I just want to say that if I was a savvy high school senior, which I once was in this building, and my Board of Ed meetings were virtual, and my school leaders got to be virtual, you better believe that as a student, I'm going to ask to be virtual, so just be careful of the slippery slope, that could put you down. And if I was a savvy 8th grader, I'd be asking the same thing. So the state has rules and regulations as a public school educator. Please make yourselves aware of what those are and what is allowable for virtual and what is not. I know when I have a request in my job, we have to have proper documentation and everything that goes along with that. So please be cautious, because I would hate for the district to waste money on frivolous lawsuits. All committees, you would like committees to have the option to be remote as well. I want to clarify that. And as a councilwoman, I will say that we worked really hard on our committees to be fair and equitable this year. It takes a lot of give and take. And one of our councilwomen said, you leave the table and nobody's 100% happy, that's how you know you did it right. So in that same vein, I would advise you to not go in expecting I want all of these things, but to go in fairly and equitably. And it worked out really well for us, so I would hope it would work out as well for all of you. Best of luck.
Okay.
I'm getting up as no longer required. I left that
He put his
jacket over
jacket on.
there. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, unfortunately, but the reason I'm getting up, the reason I'm getting up is this. Again, I mentioned 30%. What are we doing to ensure that my tax dollars are being discussed and appropriately debated? You cannot do that remotely. I don't care, it just doesn't make sense. Okay, listen, I'll mail it in with my fire department. I'll mail it in. It's not working. I appreciate your enthusiasm. You're doing really well, starting off really well. But I would not make a probationary member a chief. You need to learn. Okay? Just take that for advice, what it is. Gentleman definitely is enthused. He has what I feel is spunk. But my probationary member has that same spunk. I'm not expecting that probationary member to go in and fight a fire. Okay? Just please understand that. That's all I got to say. Sorry. I'll put my jacket back on.
Nancy Arcuri, 271 Virginia Avenue in Fort Lee. As a seasoned staff member here at the high school or in Ridgefield schools, because I've taught in all of them, other than Mr. Grippa, I have been to more board meetings than all of the board members seated combined over my tenure here. I loved the in-person board meetings. I hated the virtual. I hated teaching virtual. I agree. There's no give and take. It has to be in person for everyone. We have students that can't come to school that are not permitted to be virtual. Attendance is important. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Noreen Bradhold, 2 Douglas Court, Sussex. As president of the association, I would just like to say, I'm so happy to hear so much support expressed for teachers. A few of you did that tonight. I would also like you to consider any policy that's implemented should work to protect the privacy of all personnel in the district. Being remote, I'm not quite sure that that does that, and that gives me some pause, okay? Thank you.
Motion to close public comment?
Motion. Second.
I just have a real quick, just to get people's mind at ease. Experience versus drive. The drive of a person to make a difference. I have a perfect example here. I nominated Mr. Jacobs for being president the first time he became a board member. He has done an excellent job, and now he's moving to county president. That's a perfect example.
State,
State, or even better, state.
I was,
So,
I was
I
county.
realized his potential back then, because, and, I took it, I realized his potential in Mr. Yao. And I'm running with it. I hope that I have the same, view that I did from Mr. Jacob. So, that's the only comment I have. So, I understand, and it's totally understandable, experience versus, what I wanna call drive and to make a difference, and he did. Let's give, Patrick Joe a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Morella. So, I also want to.
Just to clarify, so the board president is the presiding officer.
Oh, sorry.
He's the one who runs the meeting, and he's authorizes whether other board members may speak at the dais when it's outside of a public comment period, whether it's outside of a discussion on a resolution item. For instance, board members can't just chime in, so if you do want to speak, you have to ask permission from the board.
I ask permission.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies. So, I think Councilwoman Congalton Haley made excellent questions. So first, with the International Festivities Committee, my intention with my policy of establishing an outreach committee as a permanent standing committee is that the outreach committee would essentially take in charge like events such as the International Festivities Committee, but also doing other events as well for the community. At the discretion of the board members and Dr. DePaz and Dr. Anamone and all the staff is very important. So, but kind of generalizing, expanding the jurisdiction of the International Festivities Committee, making it permanent and making it outreach. I think that's my idea. The idea behind establishing the outreach committee. In terms of the remote policy, it would maintain the physical quorum requirements, so anybody participating remotely would not be counted towards a quorum. And that's all that's kind of all the response I have.
So, the first meeting, we have a lot of homework,
Yes.
Got all your information, Calvin, and that's running on, and Dr. Khan, and we'll work it out, send it to the attorney. I will meet with you guys separately, and we will talk.
Yeah, and also like just want to note, like from my previous emails, I'll be making amendments to it. So that's the previous emails I sent in the last week or two. Sorry for sending it during the holidays. Kind of a short turnaround here, but I'll work on it as soon as possible. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then this is like, I know you have like on the website like posting policies publicly. This is something that we could do so the public can look at it. And
Policy is always public, it's always.
yeah, I mean, I saw like, it was like kind of a new thing in the last few months. I'm sure there was policies proposed before, and I've never seen it pop up on the website, so, I mean, that might be on my end, but.
They're there. I've been finding them.
Motion to close,
May I?
oh, sorry, go ahead. I was surprised I didn't hear you.
Oh.
Good.
No, I just, they're quick comments. So, first of all, there are a lot of different partnerships happening as different community members spoke. I was really excited to discover online today that there's gonna be an ice cream partnership with one of the schools and the public library for reading books. I think it's this month.
Last year.
They started last year, okay,
too,
so,
yes.
well, but I mean, but it's this month coming up, right?
Yes, it's coming up again.
So it's coming up, and I'm a big fan of literacy. It's nice to see that it's not just in Read Across America Month. So there's like exciting stuff happening there. And also, yesterday at the Mayor and Council reorganization, the library director was talking about kind of advertising some of the library programs that can be used to support the school programs. So we had the robotics team present here, and then the library was like, oh, we are also having a class, and they're sending flyers and communicating. It's just really great to see that those people are working together. In terms of our field service rep mentioning the in-person training and so many people advocating that there is a difference between in-person and virtual, I would strongly encourage you to attend the January weekend, because it really does make a difference. It's very, very thorough training. Even at meals, you're able to network with other people and hear from a lot of experts, and there's no cost to our district. A different foundation completely funds it. So to miss out on that is just, you know, a really sore thing to do, in my opinion. But also, I think that, as the service rep said, if you wanna go for any sort of certification in the first year, the first January weekend is required in person for that to happen. So, just putting that out there. I don't know if you signed up or not, but that's.
I got the email.
And lastly, as you can see, a lot of people here have these large blue folders. So, talking about spending taxpayer dollars wisely, we adopted board docs to simplify that process, and it is a service we pay for. We also purchased iPads for all of the previously sitting board members. Again, I don't know if you have one or not, but that was an expense that came out of a budget, and I don't ever see anybody bring their iPad, their district iPad, except me. So I would encourage you and ask you all to join me in going paperless this year, so we don't need to both bring the expensive iPads and also put the burden of all these copies. I'm happy to help anyone if they need further board docs training, as well as the board docs company has said we can reach out to them, and they're very responsive online as well. But just, I'm encouraging everyone to join me in that, make it your resolution for 2026 to go paperless in terms of the board. That doesn't mean I never have papers, I'm just saying, I hope you'll join me.
Just two last points for Mr. Joe. You're gonna be going into training, and I hope you go to the in-person section, all right? You're gonna learn like you never learned, 10 times better than virtual. And also, you'll have the ability to join me. I'm throwing a big party the night of the 23rd, but seriously, and another point that it took me a while to get used to. There's no I in team. This board is made up of 7 people. You alone have no power, I have no power, but collectively we do. So, and I understand, it is our policy that you are working on. So in other words, these little things you will learn as we go along, where your power is, what your rights are, and I think you're gonna do a great job. But most important, please, listen, and you're gonna pick up a lot of stuff. And what Lori said, the networking is unreal, all right? And I'll try to get you, if you're gonna go down, let me know. I'll try to get you a very good trainer. Thank you.
To Lori's, to Ms. Hoffman's comments, I agree with you on the iPad. I wish I had an iPad right here, right now. But I also have a personal iPad, which I use a lot. It's really good for like math homework.
No.
We have your iPad being configured, so you get it as soon as I teach.
Okay, so I truly look forward to that.
And don't mix personal stuff on it.
Yeah, no, that's why I have my own personal iPad, which I did not bring today. And besides, it's not going to connect to the Wi-Fi, so.
Right, I'm just saying, I hope everybody will join me in paperless,
Yeah.
so these folders don't have to, like, that's time out of our business administrators'
And I'll join you on
day,
that.
right?
I don't want this, you know?
Move to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
It's 9:26 already. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, look at that.